Hi, I'm Skip Nipper. Welcome to my podcast,
where I tell you about not only Nashville's great baseball history and traditions,
shot to right, a one-hop liner,
but certainly about its past. And you will hear a little bit about its present and future, too.
Yes, he can. It makes the waist-high catch.
There are great stories about Tom Wilson Park, Herschel Greer Stadium, Sulphur Dell, and the players, coaches, and fans who love everything about baseball. And every once in a while, you will get to hear from a special guest who will share their fondness and even passion for the great game.
It's a high fly ball down the right field corner, going way back, hits a lead-off home run.
There are 6 names I consider the fathers of Nashville baseball. That sounds like a lot, but we've got a long storied history here in Nashville baseball. And the first one is easy, at least easily recognized by anyone who has lived in the area over the past 60 years or so. Well, they'll agree. That is Larry Schmittou, founder of the Nashville Sounds, who was a visionary and set Nashville professional baseball back in motion back in 1978. But I consider 2 names in tandem to add to my list of the fathers of Nashville baseball. That's Larry Gilbert and Fay Murray. Murray purchased the Nashville Ball Club in 1930 with a desire to bring Southern Association championships back to the Vols after a long drought. The lack of a championship became reality when he convinced New Orleans Pelicans manager Larry Gilbert to become part owner, general manager, and field manager of the ball club. And Gilbert's success included 6 consecutive Southern Association titles between 1939 and 1944 with the Vols, and he won playoff championships too, Texas League championships. Next is Newt Ike Fisher, who was born in Nashville and played a little pro ball in Minneapolis and other places back in the late 19th century. And he brought Nashville back to solid footing in 1901 when it joined the new Southern Association, which he helped form. Nashville won the first 2 pennants for the new league, and his foundation led to Nashville being one of 2 franchises to be members of the Southern League from the inaugural season to its last in 1961. And I have to say, too often we forget, but Tom Wilson is one of those fathers of Nashville baseball. He was a baseball team owner with the Elite Giants. He was an entrepreneur and a well-respected executive in the Negro Leagues, undoubtedly the father of Negro Leagues baseball in Nashville. My friend Dr. Harriet Kimbrough Hamilton, daughter of Negro Leagues star Henry Kimbrough and a great researcher and historian in her own right, says if there had been no Tom Wilson, there may have been no Negro Leagues baseball in Nashville. And she's right. Those are my 5 out of 6. Larry Schmittou, Larry Gilbert, Fay Murray, Newt Fisher, and Tom Wilson. So who's the 6th? Well, if you've never heard of any or all 5 so far, you're not going to have a clue who the 6th father of Nashville baseball is. And I'm going to dub him the father of Nashville 19th century baseball. His name is Will Bryan, Bryan, and he did not even start as a baseball man. His exploits, though, are remarkable. Ups and downs, yes. He was also a bit of a scoundrel, but he's still on my list. William Cornelius Will Bryan, Jr. was born on September the 9th, 1852 in Zanesville, Ohio, the second oldest of 9 children. He left home at the age of 18 in 1870 and started playing baseball in 1873. And his first professional experience came with Chicago in 1874, but he enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1875 in St. Louis. And that is where his remarkable adventures take a turn towards an important event in American history as a war hero. And he became a world-class sprinter, a coach, an athletic director at various universities, and a promoter of baseball in both the United States and Great Britain. While in the Army, he was attached to the Bighorn Expedition, and on March 17th, 1876, he was involved in the Battle of Powder River. And for his actions during this battle, he was awarded a Medal of Honor in 1899, and the citation reads, Hospital Steward Bryan accompanied a detachment of cavalry in a charge on a village of hostile Indians and fought through the engagements, having his horse killed under him. He continued to fight on foot and under severe fire, and without assistance, conveyed 2 wounded comrades to places of safety, saving them from capture. Bryan was discharged from the Army on September the 24th, 1878, from Fort Sanders, and a few years later returned to baseball as a minor league player and manager from 1884 through 1888 in the Southern, the Northwestern, and Western Leagues, and the Western Association. By late July 1884, he was playing for the Evansville, Indiana club, and by the end of 1884, Bryan was in Nashville, Tennessee, where 1885 would prove to be a significant year in his life and the life of Nashville professional baseball. Because in 1885, he helped to organize the first Southern League, the first professional league for the South. On November the 25th, 1884, he convened a meeting in Montgomery, Alabama, of various clubs throughout the South, at which the Southern League of Professional Baseball clubs became organized, and league officials placed teams in Atlanta, Augusta and Columbus, Georgia, Chattanooga, Memphis, and Nashville, Montgomery, and New Orleans. And organizing the Southern League became Bryan's lasting legacy in baseball, because he was to manage the Nashville club. While he may have been the founder of the Southern League, that did not stop him from leaving Nashville shortly after the season started. On May the 19th, 1885, the Augustus beat the Nashville Americans in Southern League action by a score of 4-3, and after the game, manager Will Bryan took on his walking papers along with other players, and center fielder Ollie Beard was named captain of the ball club. But Nashville Pro Baseball was set, and he had a lot to do with it. The Chattanooga Daily Times reported in their May 21st edition, the Nashville club has released manager Bryan and others, and the club has been divided into factions, which will not be the case now, and the playing will be better than ever. The Des Moines Register later reported that Bryan left because of the interference of penny stockholders. So Bryan signed on with the club in Macon in the Southern League later that summer, but less than 1 month later, he was replaced by the team owners. Remember, I told you he was a bit of a scoundrel, so who knows what was going on. But during the summer of 1885, he also organized and competed in foot races. In September, he won a $2,000 purse in a 100-yard race in Nashville against W. Whitmore of Louisville, and later that month he organized some sprint races in Macon. Bryan appeared next in Charleston, South Carolina in late 1885, hired to organize a club for 1886. And by mid-September 1886, Bryan was in Des Moines, organizing a club to compete in the Northwestern League in 1887. His profile in the Des Moines Register described him as 6 feet 1 inch tall, 185 pounds, and one of the fastest runners in the United States, having beaten almost all the fast men, and he has led all the fastest of those teams in America. By November 1887, Bryan had moved to Hutchinson, Kansas, where his brother Harry lived, to manage a club in the Western League in 1888. He reportedly had offers to manage in Montreal, looking to place a club in the International League. On May 30th, 1888, Bryan was appointed to organize a team in Sioux City, expecting to join the Western League in place of one of the clubs on its way to collapse. And so you see, from 1882 through 1888, Bryan had started at least 7 clubs: Council Bluffs, Nashville, Macon, Charleston, Des Moines, Hutchinson, and Sioux City, and had founded an entire league, was fired from at least 4 positions, and had multiple interactions with the courts, but recognized as a world-class sprinter and a first-class organizer of ball clubs. After going to Canada in December 1888, Will moved to England, hired to manage a club in Derby in the first professional baseball league in England. And the ball club lasted for 10 years until 1898. And Bryan's son, Harry, was born in England in 1889, and his daughter, Margaret, was born there in December of 1891. Bryan returned to the United States in January 1894 to take charge of the track program at the University of Pennsylvania and stayed at Penn through the spring of 1896. In the fall, he moved to Chicago to run the athletic department at Northwestern University, where he remained until the spring of 1898. And, being a war hero, he resigned his position there to join a volunteer regiment from Illinois for the Spanish-American War. When the war was over, Bryan drifted for a bit, but in February 1899, he was granted a franchise in Peoria, Illinois, for the Western Association. Now, that effort collapsed when he was unable to locate a ballpark for the team to play in. And in 1901, he was involved in an unsuccessful attempt to create a new American association. But that league collapsed too in late February of the following year. Following this, Bryant went back to Idaho, and in June 1902, his group discovered gold in the Stanley Basin. Now, he did not get rich from this endeavor and returned to Washington, D.C., where in 1905, he became the track coach at the George Washington Athletic Association. In 1907, 2 years later, he became the athletic director for the Colorado School of Mines and helped organize the Colorado State Baseball League. From there, he moved to California, where he worked at the University of Southern California and then at the University of California, Berkeley. He moved back to Idaho in 1927, where he worked with the track and football programs for 2 years before returning to California, where his occupation listed him as physical director at a gymnasium in the 1930 U.S. Census. He's a remarkable man. He's an athlete. He was a baseball player, a manager and a league organizer, a track man, a gold miner, a war hero, and often a scoundrel. And Will C. Bryan died on March 27, 1933, in Ocean Park, California, at the age of 80, and buried at Fairmount Cemetery in Denver, Colorado. His impact was enormous wherever he lived. The ups and downs of baseball, the ups and downs of sports, and the ups and downs of war. But he helped to steer professional baseball in Nashville in 1885 and set in motion pro ball in Nashville. His footprint looms large in organizing Nashville's first professional team in league play and is my sixth father of Nashville baseball. As always, I'm grateful that you would listen. I am so glad that you would be interested in Nashville baseball history. If you have any suggestions, any criticisms, or anything that you want to give me an idea about, my email address is 262downright@gmail.com. And as always, thanks for listening.